Welcome back to Life Coaching Systems Weekly Podcast, Episode 3. I'm your host, Dr. Kenneth Hudson, for this episode on Black women and breast cancer. Black women and breast cancer is an epidemic that's happening in our community because October is Breast Cancer Prevention Month on the calendar. How many of us know someone who has suffered because of breast cancer in our family, either wives or sisters or girlfriends or neighbors? We know someone who suffered because of breast cancer in our community. You know, the greatest medical problem of the 21st century is ruthless, is bold, and is unrelenting. That enemy is breast cancer. This single disease has affected every sector of our community. Every sector, every socioeconomic sector of our community has been affected by breast cancer. Who doesn't know anyone who hasn't suffered? And a lot of times our people suffer in silence, not being able to tell anyone about that they have the diagnosis of breast cancer. We know that the healthcare system do not treat everyone alike in this country. Because of economic and social conditions, many times people of color pay the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. Psychology says that if you ignore the problem will go away. But you know that that is a lie. We solve problems by confronting those problems. We have an inherent mistrust of the medical establishment. Such things as the Tuskegee experiment and other things that have used black people, black and brown people as guinea pigs, being testers just to find out certain things, to test certain medical experiments. But you know, there are many misconceptions about breast cancer, many misconceptions about breast cancer in black women. The breast cancer mortality rates, the death rate is about 40% higher among black women compared to white women, the highest of any racial or ethnic group. A U.S. woman's lifetime risk of breast cancer is 1 in 8. Think about that, 1 in 8. Breast cancer continues to be the most common diagnosed and second leading cause of cancer death. Black women are more likely to be diagnosed with more advanced stage breast cancer compared to white women. Something is going on. Something terrible is going on when you compare those two rates between black women and white women. There's a disparity among the group. You know that African American women are more likely to present with a triple negative subtype of the disease. This disease is more aggressive and a higher mortality rate. The triple negative breast cancer, or what we call it TNBC characteristics, include more often more difficult to detect on routine mammograms, more likely to be metastasized, spread to the brain and lungs, tends to cause larger tumors compared to non-TNBC. There's a difference in the racial groups when black women get breast cancer and white women get breast cancer. Because of the negative or the aggressive nature, TNBC is more likely to require chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is the likely treatment of a lot of black women. We may not get the choices that other white women get. The risk of developing a breast cancer increases in all women as we get older, but black women are more likely to be diagnosed with cancer at a younger ages compared to white women. You say that really just doesn't make any sense, but you know, white women get more better medical care. When younger black women go for mammograms, they tell them that, oh, you don't need it. You're not in the age range yet. You should wait. And sometimes waiting is a death sentence because by the time that you get to be the age range, the disease had already progressed further along than they can do anything about it. But the question I have is this: what accounts for black women's breast cancer disparities? You know that the gap in breast cancer incidence and outcomes among black women is likely due to social, economic, and behavioral factors account for these disparities. Think about that. The same old thing, the same old maladies that we have with other type of diseases. Here we go. Here, the same thing, social, economic, and behavioral factors to account for a lot of these disparities. You know that black women are more likely to have diabetes, heart disease, and obesity, all of which are risk factors for breast cancer. I'm going to say that again. These are risk factors. They're not saying that they cause breast cancer, but diabetes, our heart disease, our obesity, all are risk factors. That means that the more of these things that you have, the more prevalent you can have breast cancer. The more characteristics you can have of that disease. Also, more likely than white women to have inadequate health care or health insurance or access to health care facilities. We know that when you look at the black community, there's not a lot of health care institutions where you can go but that's the thing. If you can get adequate health care, there's a cure for this disease. You have to get care early on. That's the key to it. And sometimes these may affect your screening, your follow-up, and completion of your therapy. So white women have better access to health care. We know that. We see that each and every day when we go through the neighborhoods and we see the communities where socioeconomically we see better neighborhoods. We'll find a lot of health care institutions, and people who of color, black and brown people who do not have access to those types of resources, they suffer because of screenings and inadequate follow-up care and completion of therapy, starting therapy then never finishing therapy. But we know that TNBC is twice as common in black women when compared to white women, accounting for approximately 30% of cases. This increased occurrence of TNBC in black women also contributes to survival disparities. And we see that the survival rate of when black women and white women get the disease. We see that black women have a far greater mortality rate than white women. Through continued research, we know that a person's biology plays a role. Your biology, that thing, that DNA plays a role in whether a person will get breast cancer. Because if your mother had breast cancer, your auntie had breast cancer, you had cousins who have breast cancer, you as a black or brown woman should watch out and be more, be more alert that you are, in that range of having breast cancer, because all of these people in your family have had breast cancer. The black women are disproportionately affected by more aggressive subtypes, such as triple negative breast cancer, inflammatory breast cancer, and they are more likely to be diagnosed at younger ages and more advanced stages of disease. You might go to the doctor, and the doctor determines through a biopsy. A lot of times where people don't want to get a biopsy or anything because they say, I don't want any kind of procedure. I don't, and I had a neighbor who, growing up, she found that it was a lump on her breast, and my mother tried to get her to go to the doctor. Her mother and grandmother pleaded with her to go to the doctor. She just felt that it was nothing that anybody could do, and she passed. I just remember that, and I mean, a real good friend of my mother's, my girl, she passed because of she didn't even try to get treatment. She was so scared that she just felt that it was nothing anybody could do. And I'm just thinking that it might be people who are doing those types of things, so that I could just see it in my mind is that she had a disease and would not even try to do anything about it. But in addition, African American women face both disproportionate exposure to breast carcinogens and the highest risk of serious health impacts from the disease. The many products we should watch out in the cosmetic industry. We don't think it was like, well, how is that a link between the cosmetic industry and breast cancer? We have products such as skin lighteners and hair relaxers and Brazilian blowout treatments and acrylic nails, and they've done studies where the percentages of people who work in these industries develop breast cancer at a more alarming rate. And think about these multi-million dollar industries are not doing anything, knowing that it might be a causal relationship between breast cancer and their products. And we need to do more, be proactive in looking at the type of things that we put in our bodies and use on our bodies as cosmetics, because these things can cause breast cancer. But the final part is this: is how can we work toward a solution? What is the solution to the problem? We have a problem that we know that breast cancer disparities between black women and white women in our communities. There's a disparity there. According to the National Cancer Institute, disparities in cancer can be improved in several ways. Several ways. And one of the ways is that through churches have to be more proactive, have programs on breast cancer awareness, bring in experts who talk about breast cancer, bring in people who've experienced breast cancer and tell about their story, give their story, and have health clinics at these churches, places where people who black and brown people gather. That's a good starting place where we can start to get some type of help for people who are at risk. Because what I've said in this podcast is that black and brown people who are at risk, we are at risk. One of the ways is that creating statewide cancer screening programs to underserved populations. That's another one, because we're in a pandemic. People have put off going to the doctor, going to get mammograms, going to get screenings, all those things because of the pandemic. But we can't let that, because the pandemic won't kill us. It's that through breast cancer, because we've been undiagnosed, we won't go get it. Because I said, I'm afraid of the pandemic. I'm afraid of the COVID-19 virus, but I still need to go get checked out. I need to still get checked out and get my screenings done, even though we live in a time where we're fighting the virus. Early detection, catching a breast cancer when it's small and easier to treat. The most powerful weapon that any woman can use in the fight against breast cancer. Regular mammogram screenings and seeing a doctor if you notice that a reading can be challenged in a younger woman due to the density of breast tissue. And we've heard about that. Some women they don't screen well. Some women, because of they don't want another woman to touch them during the examination. We have to get over these things. We gotta get examined. It's too important. We have to do better when it comes to interfacing with the medical establishments. But the warning signs of breast cancer include a new lump. Here in Jacksonville, they have Buddy Check 12, a great local program started by one of our local newscasters, where women are encouraged to examine themselves monthly to try to determine any changes in their breasts and everything, so which is a very good program. Also noticing bloody nipple discharge. You should be examining yourself when you're in the shower, that type of thing. A change in the skin of the breast, such as inflammation, all these things. And really, they have to be taught at an early age. We can't wait till you're in your 40s and start to do self-examination. These things have to be done early on for we could be able to be a preventative and have some kind of way of determining whether we are at risk for the disease. Self-examination monthly before age 40. A lot of lifestyle changes. Oh, so many lifestyle changes that we can do. The first lifestyle change that we can have is probably eating a healthy diet, a diet full of vegetables, of lean meats, grains, fruits, those type things. Trying to decrease the amount of fried food, fried chicken, fried pork chops, fried everything. Try to get off that, because it's so ingrained in our culture to have those foods that taste good. But there's a causal relationship between those diet. So trying to have a healthy diet, a healthy you. That's good, because it's a mind-body dualism. You have to fight this disease on both fronts to try to prevent it through having a healthy diet. Also, regular exercise. I know people don't want to hear that word exercise, especially in our community. Physical fitness is such an important thing, and I know that some people say, "Well, I can't do physical fitness, because I have other limitations." But the thing is, if you can't do that, you have to be more proactive on the other end about self-examination and looking at those types of things. Regular exercise, a fitness routine. If you can be in a fitness routine where you're getting getting regular 30 minutes of aerobic exercise each and every day, which would be good. If you're just walking around the block, that'll be real good to start your fitness routine. Maybe you could just walking up and down the hallway or something, or you might have one of those little things where you could just do a little aerobic exercise. Anything to get yourself more active and allowing yourself to be out in the fresh air and getting exercise. That's a preventative in the battle against breast cancer. Limiting your alcoholic beverages. I know no one wants to hear that. Oh my God, wait a minute. That's too much. You just too much right there. You're asking too much. But limiting alcoholic beverages. I don't have maybe one drink a week. The doctor says that you could have 3 glasses of red wine per day. That's supposed to be good. But having Concord grape juice it's the same benefit you get from those types of things. So limiting your alcoholic beverages might be the best thing. So it's certain things that we can do to keep this body healthy. Like I said before, eating a healthy diet is number one. That's something you have control over. Regular exercise or fitness routine, being more active, being active at an early age and showing younger women, black and brown women, who you could be active. And limiting alcoholic consumption is another thing that's real good in fighting off breast cancer. And so here we talked about that breast cancer is such a tragedy. It's not only a tragedy, but it's the enemy. It's affected so many of our women, like I said, our aunts, our aunties, our grandmothers, our teachers. It's affected every part of the social strata in our community, and now we have to do something about it. There are health disparities, but we have to be more proactive in getting the type of medical treatment that we need. We got to be more proactive in getting medical treatment. We can't sit around and wait on other people to be proactive for us. We have to be more proactive for ourselves, and that's important because if you take ownership of a problem, it becomes your problem. Then you strategize in order to solve the problem. So we can't give the problem to other people, but because it's directly affecting us. It's directly affecting us. Black and brown women are at a crisis when it comes to breast cancer, and everyone knows that now we have to do something about it. But I want to thank you for listening to Life Coaching Systems Incorporated podcast number 3 on the topic of black women and women of color and breast cancer. Such an important topic because the month of October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You see all the runs and all the marathons and all the raising of money. It's just everywhere. But it's something that we need to work on each and every month. It's so important because it's affecting us and it's causing health disparities between black women and white women. We can see those things. And so with this podcast, you can find additional show notes on our website. Our next podcast will focus on how to build a solid relationship and good communication skills. You don't want to miss it. I'm excited about it. I want to have a guest for that show. Spread the word about our podcast. Let somebody know what we're trying to do. We're starting small, but I believe in God that it will not stay small because anything that involves God, He's going to bless it. He's going to increase it. And I'm just looking forward to what God is going to be able to do with it because we want to get factual, relevant information out to people about things that are concerns to us and people. It's a concern of us and we want to talk about it. You can reach us at our website at www.lifecoachingsystems.org or on Facebook at Awakenings, AWAKENING 007, or on YouTube at Dr. Kenneth Hudson at Life Coaching Systems Incorporated. And I want you to show your support for this podcast. We can't do it without your help. And I know that, hey, just here you go again trying to ask it for money. But we want to ask for donations and to help build this podcast. And through Cash App at Cash at Rattlers, RATTLERS at 006. That's our Cash App number, or you can go through our website through www.lifecoachingsystems.org. And remember, we're still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic is not over by the least. We're still seeing people who have left this earth because they've been unvaccinated. They did not believe, even though we have thousands of people, over 600, 700,000 people who have died. Please get the vaccination if possible. It's the only way back to a normal life, whatever that's going to be one of these days. It's back, just trying to get back to a normal life. People of color are 3 times more likely to contract the COVID-19 virus. Also remember these 3 things: to wear a mask, wash your hands, and practice social distancing. God bless you today.